After I gave them $11K and planned their wedding, they called me creepy behind my back. I paid their rent, booked the vendors, and even designed their site. Then I found a group chat where they joked about cutting me out. I didn't scream or beg. I just hit delete and left behind one final message that shattered their perfect day. Before we get started, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next story, and tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Hi, I'm Jack, 32, black sheep, unpaid wedding planner, and apparently the creepy brother no one wanted at the family photo op. But let's rewind to when I found out I was officially cut from the guest list. It started with a text. Just 5 words from my mother. You're not coming to the wedding. No, sorry. No, we love you. No, nothing. Just cold, calculated rejection wrapped in a gray bubble. I read it twice, then again. My thumb hovered while my coffee sat untouched, slowly losing heat. Kind of like our relationship now that I think about it. When I finally replied, it was just as cold. So, you chose status over blood. What happened next? Oh, just a quiet little series of calculated decisions that blew their wedding plans to pieces. See, what they didn't realize when they excommunicated me was that they hadn't just cut out a guest. They just fired the guy holding up the entire production. I opened my laptop, logged into the wedding planner dashboard, the one under my name, and canceled the venue reservation. That's $2,500 gone, non-refundable, paid with my card. Oops. Next stop, the shared wedding folder. Dozens of files, schedules, contact lists, contracts. Guess who uploaded most of them? Deleted. Every single one. Folder renamed. Good luck without me. No warnings, no tantrums, just silence. A surgical strike. And the best part? They wouldn't even notice until days later, when the florist ghosted them, when the venue emailed to confirm the cancellation, when the photographer no-showed. Because, surprise, I booked him. They thought I'd just smile and swallow it like always. They thought I'd still show up, sit in the back, clap politely while they played happy family without me. But that's not what happened. Because this wasn't about a wedding. This was about the years of quiet dismissals, the jokes that cut too deep, the birthdays they forgot, the loyalty they demanded but never returned. This was me, finally cutting the string they thought they'd tied around my throat forever. 6 months before the text that detonated everything, Lily called me in tears, not dramatic crying, real, panicked sobbing. Zach had just gotten laid off. Their rent was 3 months past due, and their landlord was threatening to file eviction papers that Monday. I didn't hesitate. I wired them $3,800 from my savings that night. No questions, no lectures. Just, I got you. It wasn't the first time. Earlier that year, Dad called me whispering from the garage. He'd accidentally overdrawn his retirement account and needed $5,000 to cover penalties or they'd lose a chunk of what was left. I covered it. Then there was the bachelorette Airbnb. Mom had booked it on my card temporarily and swore she'd pay me back before the trip. She didn't. The girls trashed the place. $900 in damages. They never even apologized. That's when I started keeping records. Screenshots, spreadsheets, PDFs of transfers. Not to use as leverage, but to remind myself I wasn't making this up, that I wasn't overreacting. Because every time I asked about the money or even brought up being left out of things, they turned it around. Don't be so sensitive, Jack. We're family. That's what family does. Yeah? Well, funny how what family does always seemed to mean me giving and them taking. You want to know the moment that really cracked me open? It wasn't a fight. It was a Facebook post. A cute, sepia-toned photo of Lily and Zach in front of the rustic wedding barn I helped them book. My parents stood behind them, beaming like they'd just won the family lottery. The caption read, "So proud of our family. Can't wait for the big day with all the right people by our side." The right people. I wasn't even tagged. I clicked the comments. Someone asked if I'd be there. Lily replied, "We're keeping it small. Just people we trust." People we trust. I'd transferred almost $10,000 to keep their lives afloat, spent hours designing their wedding website, built custom invites on Canva, and negotiated their venue contract so they could afford it. But sure, not trusted. I didn't scream. I didn't call. I just stared at that phrase and felt something in me go permanently silent. A week later, I got a group text from Mom. "Hey fam, can everyone pitch in for Lily's bridal shower decorations? Jack, can you make a landing page for RSVPs? You're so good with that tech stuff." Hugs and kisses, like nothing had happened. Like I was still the help. Then Lily messaged me directly. "Can you just do this one thing without being passive-aggressive?" That was it. That was the moment. I didn't argue. I didn't reply. Instead, I logged back into the wedding venue account. Remember that tiny checkbox for wedding insurance? I'd added it on a whim. Non-refundable deposit? Sure. But with family conflict as a clause? Refundable up to 90%. I filed a claim and got $1,250 back, quietly, cleanly. Then I went back into Canva and deleted everything I ever made for them. Every table assignment, every welcome sign, every RSVP graphic. Gone. I left only one new file behind. White background, bold black font, title at the top. Ask Zach's dad to fix this. I shared it with the whole family. That's when the phone calls started. 3 hours after I shared that final Canva file, my phone exploded like a 4th of July sparkler jammed into a toaster. First, it was Mom. Hysterical. "What are you doing? Do you know how this looks? Do you have any idea what you've done to your sister?" She wasn't asking questions. She was accusing, scolding, guilt-tripping like it was a sport she'd trained for her whole life. I let her go on for a full minute before I said, very calmly, "I know exactly how it looks. That's why I'm doing it." Then I hung up. 30 seconds later, Dad called. No preamble, no breath. "You've always been jealous of Lily. You can't stand that she's happy, that she's better than you." I held the phone away from my ear while he yelled, like he was a tiny man in a snow globe I could shake and mute at will. I didn't say a word. Just clicked end call, like I was closing a browser window. Then the social media storm began. Lily posted a vague Instagram story, white text on black. "Betrayal always comes from those closest to you." Then Mom posted a photo of Lily in tears, her makeup smudged in what I can only assume was a very intentional pose. The caption? "Nothing hurts more than your own brother trying to ruin your special day." That's when people really started coming for me. Cousins, friends, old co-workers. Most didn't even ask what happened. They just sent, "How could you?" texts or, "Why would you ruin her wedding?" Some added, "You've always been dramatic." Like it was some kind of diagnosis, like asking to be treated like a human being was a disorder. I ignored them. Every single one. Until I got the package. A manila envelope, no return address. Inside, a printed screenshot of a group chat titled Lily's Bride Tribe. The conversation was brutal. "Lily, we'll get Jack to pay for the cake too. Just guilt him about being the only brother. Works every time." One of the bridesmaids replied with a laughing emoji. Another message from Lily. "Zach doesn't even like him. He says Jack gives him the creeps. LOL." The final message was the one that made my stomach turn. "He won't be at the wedding. I'll make sure of it. Watch." There was a sticky note on top. In neat slanted handwriting, it said, "You deserve better. K." I didn't know who K was, but I was going to find out. I started digging. Cross-referenced names from the chat. Found a Kayla R. on Lily's wedding guest list spreadsheet, one of the bridesmaids. I messaged her from a burner email. Just said thank you. "Do you have more?" She replied in 5 minutes. Yes. She had audio. And the second I heard it, I knew what I had to do. The rehearsal dinner was scheduled for Friday night, a fancy vineyard an hour outside the city. The kind of place with rustic charcuterie boards and $19 glasses of Chardonnay that tasted like lawn clippings. It was supposed to be the moment where families toasted the bride and groom and everything glowed with fake sincerity. I didn't RSVP. I didn't say a word. But I showed up anyway. I wore all black, pressed shirt, clean shoes, no jacket. Not to be dramatic, but because black is what you wear to a funeral. I walked in just as Lily was laughing at something Zach said. Mom looked like she'd aged 5 years. Dad's jaw locked when he saw me. No one said a word. I walked straight to the head table. Sorry to interrupt, I said, tapping a glass with my ring. I just have something quick to share before dinner. Everyone turned. Forks stopped moving. Conversations died. I reached into my jacket, pocket, and pulled out a speaker. Set it on the table. Held up the flash drive. Zach stood up fast. What are you doing? I looked at him. Calm, focused. Giving you exactly what you deserve. Then I hit play. Lily's laugh crackled through the speaker like it was piped in from some distant, uglier dimension. We'll get Jack to pay for the cake, too. Just guilt him about being the only brother. Works every time. The room froze. Someone gasped. A fork slipped off a plate and clattered to the floor. I could feel the oxygen get sucked out of the air like everyone forgot how to breathe at once. I didn't move. I just stood there, hands in my pockets, watching the mask peel off my sister's perfect bride face in real time. Another voice. Another message. One of the bridesmaids this time. Then Lily, again, smug. Zach doesn't even like him. He says Jack gives him the creeps. LOL. Zach looked like he'd been punched in the throat. He blinked. Once, twice. Then slowly turned toward her. Lily lunged for the speaker. I stepped between her and the table. Sit down. It wasn't loud. It wasn't threatening. It was just final, and she knew it. Because for the first time in her life, she did. Then the final clip, her voice again, this time low and smug. He won't be at the wedding. I'll make sure of it. Watch. I clicked pause. Silence. Dead. Feral. Beautiful. I looked around the room, my voice calm. Any questions? Zach opened his mouth like he wanted to say something. Nothing came out. My father stood up, red-faced, trembling. You think this is appropriate? You think this... Sit down. And the miracle? He did. I turned to Lily, whose mascara was now smudging down both cheeks. Her hands were shaking. I spent over $11,000 on this wedding, I said, quiet but audible to every ear in the room. I designed your website. I negotiated your venue contract. I paid for your florist. I didn't ask for a thank you. I didn't even ask to be in the photos. I did it because I thought, stupidly, that this was family. You don't understand, Lily whispered. No, I replied. You don't. I pulled out the folder from my bag. Thick, tabbed, labeled, all the receipts, PayPal transfers, invoices I paid, screenshots of messages, group chat excerpts, the one where she called me the family's free wedding planner. I passed it to Zach. You still want to marry her? I asked. He stared down at the papers like they were in another language. Then he shook his head. Barely, like a ghost of movement. And then, someone from the back of the room stood up. A woman in a gray coat, dark jeans, lanyard badge around her neck, and a phone in her hand. Calm, collected. Slight smile. Hi, everyone, she said, stepping forward. Sorry to intrude. I'm Kristen. Jack and I used to work together. I also run a digital forensic agency. He asked me to verify some files. Lily looked like she'd swallowed glass. Kristen nodded toward the speaker. That audio you just heard, it's 100% authentic. No edits, no splices. Pulled from a WhatsApp backup linked to your old number. Don't worry, I brought the metadata too. She lifted her phone and tapped the screen. Want to see the geolocation ping? Lily's mouth opened, but no words came out. My mother clutched her pearls like Kristen had just dropped a vial of anthrax on the potato salad. Is this a joke? Not even a little, Kristen said. Then Zach stood up. His face was stone. You told me Jack threatened you, he said to Lily, voice low but cutting. You told me he said horrible things. You said he was unstable. You said... He held up the printouts. You lied. No, Zach, no. Don't touch me. And then the room fractured. Aunt Megan stood and started yelling. One of the bridesmaids knocked over a wine glass. My mother tried to stand, but stumbled. My dad started pointing and muttering something about manipulation. It was chaos, and I just stood there, quiet, still, watching it burn. Then I raised my voice one last time, cutting through the noise like a blade. I'm not coming to the wedding. You made that decision already, but now you get to live with it, without my money, my help, or my silence. I turned to my parents. You cut me out the moment I stopped playing the puppet, so now I'm cutting the strings. And just as I turned to leave, I'm calling it off, Zach said. Loud, clear. Lily screamed, a high-pitched shattering noise. You can't do this here. Oh, I said, walking toward the door. He just did. I didn't go home after the rehearsal dinner. I didn't even take the highway. Instead, I drove north on an empty 2-lane road, just watching the lines blur. No music, no calls, just silence. 3 weeks earlier, I'd quietly signed a lease on a tiny cottage in a town most people forget exists. Population 600. One gas station, a diner with burnt coffee and gossip 3 days old. I paid 6 months up front. No forwarding address, no announcements. The morning after the dinner, I pulled into the gravel drive just before dawn. No dramatic unpacking, no victory speech. I walked inside, dropped my bag, and sat on the porch with black coffee, listening to wind-rustled trees instead of phone buzzes. I didn't turn my phone on for 3 days, didn't check emails, didn't scroll through what I knew was already becoming a family scandal. Because word spread. Lily's fiancé had walked. In front of everyone, people whispered and speculated. I didn't care. I wasn't there to correct the story. I was gone. On day 4, I signed up for an archival class at the local college. Old newspapers, faded letters, things that couldn't lie about their past. I started volunteering at the county museum, helped fix their busted microfilm machine. Nobody asked for anything in return. No guilt, trips, no expectations, just peace. A few days later, emails started hitting my old backup inbox. I only checked it out of curiosity. Subjects like, "Can we talk?" or "You went too far." Even a few blocked calls. Mom, Lily, maybe even Zach. I didn't answer. They weren't reaching out to apologize. They were trying to reset the board, reclaim the narrative. But what scared them wasn't the evidence I'd dropped. It was the silence that followed. They had no idea what I'd do next. And, for once, that made them powerless. 3 weeks in, a court notice hit my old apartment. Dad had tried to sell a slice of Grandma's land. What he didn't know? I'd legally frozen the deed 2 years ago when he accidentally tried to use my name to refinance it. The deal collapsed. His buyer walked. And now he was staring down a fraud inquiry. I didn't cause that. I just stopped cleaning up after him. And that's what wrecked them. Because people like that don't fear being exposed. They fear being ignored. A month after I vanished, I stopped by the old wedding venue. Just once. Not to gloat, not to reminisce. Just to see it. The barn was empty, abandoned. A crooked for sale sign hung on the front gate like a punchline. In the gravel driveway, someone had left a wilted bouquet. Probably one of Lily's attempts to salvage the narrative. I rolled the window down. The air smelled like wet wood and regret. Then I stepped out, walked to the rusted mailbox near the entrance, and slipped in an envelope. No return address. Inside, the final invoice I'd paid for the wedding. On top, a sticky note. Thanks for nothing. Then I drove away. I didn't check in with anyone, didn't text friends, didn't fish for praise, because I didn't want revenge anymore. I wanted absence, something cleaner, something they couldn't twist or bargain with. A silence that said everything I never had the space to say out loud. The thing about people like my family, they don't panic when you yell. They panic when you disappear. Weeks passed, Every now and then I'd check that old Gmail, dozens of unread messages. Subjects like, "Please just talk to us," or "We're still your family." One read, "We don't know who you are anymore." That one made me smile, because finally, they were right. I wasn't the person who bailed them out at 2 a.m. anymore. I wasn't the guilt-ridden sibling or their emotional mule. I was just a guy living in a cottage with no signal and no strings attached. I changed my phone number. Not just a SIM swap, a new carrier, new country code, no forwarding. I closed the joint bank account Dad linked to me for emergencies. Redirected my statements to a digital vault. Changed my medical POA. Removed every family name. Even updated my emergency contact at the DMV. From mom to no one. They didn't know where I lived. Didn't know where I worked. Didn't even know if I was still in the state or on the same continent. And that killed them. Because narcissists can't stand a spotlight they don't control. They need a story to tell. A villain, a hero, a second chance. But I gave them none of it. Just nothing. That's what finally undid them. One morning I stood in line at the post office, waiting to pick up a package. Behind me, a woman was on the phone. "Did you hear about that girl, Lily? Her fiancé bailed at the rehearsal dinner. Her brother disappeared. Took all his money with him." I didn't turn around, didn't smirk, didn't say a word. I just accepted my package, nodded at the clerk, and walked back into the quiet. Somewhere in my old life, they were still scrambling, trying to spin the narrative, still hoping I'd reach out, that I'd soften, that I'd show up like I always had. But I never did, because this time, I wasn't mad. I was done. I got a new mailbox last week. Metal, lockable, industrial. One of those Dropbox types where once something goes in, it doesn't come back out. The technician asked me what name I wanted engraved on the brass plate. I didn't even pause. "No name," I said. "Just a message." Now, beneath the keyhole it reads, "This box does not accept apologies." And that's where it ends. Not with a bang, not with some triumphant announcement of independence. Just quiet. Daily, solid, ordinary quiet. I sit on my porch in the mornings, drink my black coffee, and listen to birds fight over things they'll never own. I catalog letters for the museum. I sort photos of people I'll never meet. I submit papers for my archival class. No fanfare, no judgment, no one asking for favors wrapped in guilt. Sometimes silence isn't an absence, it's a boundary, a signal. The kind of silence that says, "You no longer have access here. I haven't logged into the wedding planner site since I nuked it. Haven't checked the family group chat. It's probably still full of vague quotes and birthday gifts I never respond to. I still get the occasional blocked call. Still see new emails trickle into the old inbox. One subject line said, 'We just want to talk.' Another, 'It's not too late.' But here's the thing. It is. Because they think I cut them off in a fit of drama, out of spite. But what they don't understand is that this wasn't about a single text or one wedding. This was the final act in a story they spent years writing. All I did was hand them the ending. You know what no one ever says about walking away? It's not loud. It's not cinematic. It's like stepping into another room and locking the door. And outside that door, they're still banging, still yelling, still trying to be heard, still hoping I'll crack it open just wide enough to get dragged back in. But I won't, because there's nothing in there for me anymore. No redemption, no reckoning, no family worth salvaging. Just the cold echo of people who only loved me when I was useful. And now, I'm not useful. I'm gone, not in anger, in peace. And the truth is, I hope they never stop checking that inbox, never stop hoping for a reply. I hope every time they open their mouths to tell their version of the story, they hesitate, just for a moment, wondering what I might have kept, what receipts they forgot existed, what strings I haven't pulled yet, because they still think silence means defeat. They don't know it was the plan all along. And that mailbox? Still empty, still locked, still waiting for a message that will never be accepted.